Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's August 13th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And really, really in the big picture, we had a trend up and a trend down. It's still a little bit of a range day. We started out in this real tight range, but you can see as the day goes on, we're trading well outside the overnight highs and lows. Well, I wouldn't say well, but we're trading outside of them. And the first thing you'll probably do is measure this lower part of the range and then use that for a possible measured move. And you can see we really went just a tad higher than that by a few ticks, and then we turned down. And really, we trended up from 8:30 to just around noontime, a little after noon, and we reached that measured move up there, and then we reversed, and it was all downhill the rest of the day. And even down here, you can see we're not really trending down anymore, but there's no rejection of prices off these lows, so prices are just hanging around. So you got to be really careful trading that. You can see we did end up bouncing, but there's a channel working down here. It was kind of hard to find this because it didn't really fit properly off that first swing, but you can see it clearly fitting in there until we had the break here. There's a little two-legged correction, moved to a new low, and then we reversed after that. So I still believe, and you can see that midline price is playing off of it consistently. So it was just a little harder one to find. It's, you might have been more playing this as a range until we just kept going lower here. So anyway, there's in the brown channel, notice that there's a blue channel within it. You get a break, two legs up, and then you correct, and that's when I drew that trend line. And then when we bounce there, you got to assume it's still good until we get the break there, and then you get another two legs up on that one, and then we're working down. And of course, there's smaller trends and channels within that. So just remember, there's layers upon layers here, and that's why price action works on any level, because there's something going on at every different level. You have to kind of get down into it and find all the levels. So let's back out now that we kind of see the big picture, and we'll talk about the trades. Obviously, it's 7 o'clock. We're in a range here, and we're bouncing down here. And notice that we've bounced a few times down at this level. The key here is how much space there is between. Like up here, this happened at, well, let's just look at the time. The time on this was 1939 my time, which is 7:39 the night before. So, and then we don't get back up here again until 2 in the morning my time, and then we don't get back up here again until 7:40 my time. So I wouldn't really call that a double test because there's just so much space in there. The highs are inconsistent. But look down here how many times we bounced, and the times are getting much closer together because this is at 1:50 in the morning. And this is actually, we bounce again here at 3 in the morning, and then 3:46, and then we bounce really we get a little bounce right there at 6, and then again at 7. So you've got some pretty consistent bounces down here. So that's why I like this trade and not necessarily this one, because I know somebody's going to ask me that. Well, what's the difference? Well, I just told you the difference. So I like that one. There's a higher low right here. So I like that trade. Not only that, there's a little bit of a trap here. Notice you're working down, you get a first entry, and then you get a second entry, and it looks like it's going to fail, and all it does is trap people. Don't go short into all that sport. There's no short there at all. You're looking for a possible long here, and then you get it right here. And it's a quick, easy trade. Then you get a higher low. The only problem with this one is it's not really an engulfing bar. There's matching lows, and so you don't necessarily want to go long right there. You got to wait till here, and you're way into this trade before you really get a chance to go long. It's also a very huge bar. I mean, there's 17 ticks in that bar, so you're risking 19 ticks to trade that with our standard trading procedure or strategy, or the way we enter with one tick above and putting your safety stop, because you got to add 2 more ticks to that 17. So that's a $250 risk almost. So anyway, not a great place to enter, but you may still take that trade. We run up here to the highs, and again, and that's a second entry short right there. So you might enter there, but like I just explained to you, it's not, we haven't turned down there enough consistently that you probably don't want to wait on a lower high here. And you don't get a lower high to way down here, and it looks, that's not technically congestion. There's just some up and downs right there. And that is a nice signal bar. So there's always a possibility. There's still plenty of room to get out. So you might take that trade. I wouldn't have a problem marking it green, but I would wait on a better entry. I'll just be honest with you. I'm not crazy about that entry. And then of course we bounced down here again. We did make a little lower low here than the last one, although you can see most of the closes are still inside that price line. So, and again, this is a second entry long. Notice you're moving down, first entry, second entry, but there's a little bit of congestion here. I'd probably wait on a higher low. We get that right here, but now you definitely have congestion. And so I like waiting to see what happens, and then you get a failed second entry short, and then look at it go. And that tells you that the smart traders are waiting for more proof that we're going higher. They're not trusting this stuff right here. And then once you make that failed second entry short, look at it go. It takes on off, and we trend on up from there. So, but I want to say this. Make sure you understand this. When you're trading failures, you're not looking for, you want to take failures with the trend or at reversal point. So this is a reversal point. So this would be where you would look for a failure. But once you're trending up right here, a bunch of you, at least 2 or 3 people contacted me about this. They got trapped right here. And I understand what they're doing. They're playing a failed breakout, but notice we didn't really find resistance here. We're still trending. That's your first break. And so don't take a failure right here at a point like that. You'd be looking for this failure to get on with the trend. And yeah, the real problem is there's probably no trade here other than the short trap, because you don't want to go short here yet, but really we've had a break in a new high. So this is kind of a transition period, and it's easy to get chopped up. So you're probably better off to wait. Notice I marked that second entry because that's still with the trend, and we did get a close outside here, but we may get 2 legs up, which we did. And if you look, there's one leg, and then there's your next leg. And we don't quite have a second leg up yet. And if you're following along, you see the measured move for this range is way up here. So there's still a lot of room left yet. Sure, we may not get there, but we might. At the same time, we might get there. So don't take this is not where you look for a failed second entry short yet. Let this play out. And so when you get this short trap, I like going long there. And most of you are playing this as a long trap, and you're just getting fooled and trapped, and off it goes. And that, that's basically what happened to you here. There's really that's not somewhere you want to take a failure necessarily. So just remember, if the prices are trending up, we're looking for failures to the downside, not the upside. So anyway, and if you're looking for a failure off the highs coming down, you want the failure to be on this side of the EMA, not the upper side. Like here, notice that you wouldn't have gone long except above the EMA. This is not a perfect reversal here, but when it triggers, you are well above the EMA. Here, you're not. And so that's the difference between those two for those of you that are going to ask me that. So off we go to the upside, and then we just start going sideways. Don't enter in this stuff. Just let it go. You do get a lower high here, but look how congestive it looks. And so there's no entry there, but it does come back, and you would draw this line off the highs and drag it down, and look where it bounces. You can't enter right there. You got to wait on a higher low or something, and you get one here, and look how congestive. And finally, you get a second entry long right here on an engulfing bar. Notice that new high. Pull back first entry, pull back, and when this broke lower and turned up, that's a second entry long when it goes high above that. I didn't get my order in time here. I like this trade. So what I did was I let it break higher, and I dropped my limit order back, and I got an even better entry. And you had to sit this one out, but it worked, and then it comes back and gives you a higher low right here. So another chance to enter. And it's clear that this brown channel is in play. And then we run on up here. But notice we had the break of this channel and then your two legs up. And so then you get a correction, which gives you the break of the brown channel before you get another two legs up, and this one's over. So it's those layers upon layers. And we would have been looking, notice this is your first leg up. There's your two-legged correction. And so we want to look for a possible measured leg up here too. We don't get it. We don't even come close. So that tells you something. This starts selling off. That means we're probably going to go further to the downside than when you don't hit a target by that much and you start trending the other direction, it means you're probably going to get a pretty good move in the other direction. So hopefully that makes sense. But we meet this measured move on the range. We come down, and this is played out. The blue one's played out. Everything's played out. And you get a lower high right here. That's a little bit congestive. So that might be enough to say, hey, wait for the failure. But then the failure is even more congestive, and it's right into some previous support and resistance that closed from yesterday. But I'd probably take this trade. Notice how everything pushes through the EMA, pulls back. You would have liked for that to have been an engulfing bar, but it wasn't. So, but it's very bearish. And you did meet your measured move, and everything's played out. So you may risk that one. Here, you're being a little aggressive. It doesn't matter that that's not a very bearish bar, but what is kind of bothersome is you got three bars stacked up there, and at least one of them has no body, or a very small body, and we're not back to the EMA, which you don't have to be on a trap, because that's what happens. It traps people trying to ride back. So, and you can tell it did trap people. Look how fast it dropped down. So the fact that it's a trap is enough for me to mark it green, even though it's congested there. So hopefully that makes sense. And then we bounce down here. You get a higher low here, but we're not anywhere near back down here. So you got to be careful. Where were we? Right here going long. There is enough room back to the EMA, but I just think that's a little risky. It would have been an easy trade, but it's hard to know that in advance. And then we come back down. You try to go higher once, try to go higher twice, and you get this big bearish bar. And there is some overlap here, but you don't really have that doji looking bar. The one, I mean, this one's got a pretty good stem, but it's still got, you know, we closed maybe halfway in that bar, so I like that one. And it is a failed, again, it's that trap. This one obviously doesn't fool as many people because it doesn't take off very fast. It comes back again. And I treated this, even though you got that little break higher right there, I really treated that as one move. And then this is your second leg. So this one is more like the failed second entry long, and this one acted more like a trap. You can see that drops on down. So, but I'm still not crazy about it, so I just marked it green. And we're working down. You could argue that we got the close outside of this channel before we even got it confirmed. So, but sometimes you'll see that, and then the channel's in play, and it lasts. It keeps rolling. But there's no short here. There's a second entry short right there, but look at your signal bar. And when it bounces here for the third time and gives you that big bullish bar, you might go long right there because it's probably going to shoot up. It's probably going to be a trap. And plus, too, we were looking for, I forgot to show you this on the bigger chart. This was the first leg down here. And so when we started back down, you might look for a measured leg. Well, just can't get it going. So there's your measured leg. And you can see we got really close. We actually went a little further. I think people were really unsure right here. It's kind of hard to figure out what's going on because this channel is not real clear. We bounced here again, and I mean that bar, that particular bar is 19, so it takes 21 ticks to trade that bar, and not being clear, I mean, you can tell it acted kind of as a trap. The shorts had a bunch of them exited right there, so it might have been worth taking, and you can see it didn't take any heat at all. It broke higher, would have triggered your order, and you'd been right out of that trade. So it's definitely a short trap, and that's why I marked it, and it is a double test down here. If it was just a bounce down here, I'd say don't take it, but it's a double test, and it's technically by the rules, it's not a failed second entry short because it got more in the scalp, but it'll still act like one because there's a lot of shorts that have gotten short here. And this is going to trap a bunch of them out, and that's what they do. They trap them out and run all their stops, and then the bottom drops. And it makes that one last push down before we go into the 2 o'clock. And notice here you got another little failed second entry short because you've definitely got a break now and a new low if you did, even if you weren't counting this one. And with that failure right there, you'd like to see that above the EMA, and it's a little late in the day, and that's why I marked it green. It's just not a great trap or a great setup, and you can see it doesn't really take off like it traps people. And that's probably why, because there's a lot of indecision here and it's getting late in the day, and you can see people just were unsure here before it finally broke higher. It's just hard to know what prices are really doing in there. And anytime you don't know, your best bet is don't do anything because you'll get chopped up. I mean, if you start trying to trade that in either direction, you just get chopped up, and that's what happens to you. So, anytime you're unsure and it's not real clear, the best bet is just sit on the sidelines and wait till you're clear, especially late in the day like this. Because if you have a loser after 2 o'clock, you don't have any time to make it up. You know, if you have a loser in here sometime, you got all day to make it up. But when you're right here at 2 o'clock, you don't have much time to make it up. So keep that in mind, but we'll back out one more time where you can see the big picture. And really, we trended up. I mean, that's a really weak movement up, but it's still, you can still see the EMA pointing up. Most of the bars are above it. We pushed through here a couple of times, but that's just telling you it's probably coming to an end. So just the fact that it's starting to push through a few times is telling you it's probably coming to an end. So let these channels play out, and then you're probably going to get a reversal. And that's what happens. So trying to figure out where prices are going is not nearly as hard as how they're going to get there. And that's what, like this leg went straight up. And on our second leg, it's just meandering along. It's still moving up, but it didn't go straight up. So we don't know how prices are going to attempt to get to these measured moves and our targets and so forth. And again, you can see this was the 3 o'clock close yesterday. Most of your movement was around that. You do see some around this one too. So again, they both came into play. So maybe we end up leaving them both on there before it's over. Yesterday it was obviously the 3 o'clock one, and today early on it looked like it was going to be it too. But we ended up, we played off this one during the overnight and even here in the afternoon some. So it may turn out we're going to leave both of these on there. We'll just have to see. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today, and that's going to wrap up our week. No chart lessons tomorrow. I've got a whole 4 or 5 traded recorded trades that other traders have sent me. I haven't had a chance to watch any of them yet, so I'm going to try to watch them tomorrow. And if I like some of them or all of them, I'll do either 1 or 2 trade compilation, or I'll put them. If I like them all, I'll do a compilation of all of them maybe, and we'll post that for you to watch over the weekend, and you can watch some more live trades. But I've got to watch them first and just make sure people. I really want to put the ones up that where they're following the rules and they're making good decisions. And sometimes people have a lucky trade that would probably not be good to show other traders just because it may confuse them on what consists of a good trade and so forth. So most of the ones y'all are sending me are good trades. Occasionally there's one that's I'm not quite sure about, but so if I don't show your trade, it doesn't mean it was a bad trade or anything. It just means maybe that I don't think it would be a good example for whatever reason. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again Monday. And again, maybe you'll hear something from me over the weekend on some of these live trades I'll try to put up. But I'm going to wrap it up for today. I'm going to wrap this week up on chart lessons. I'll see you back on that on Monday. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.